to sea in an automobile on a road through the Atlantic Ocean. At the extreme corner of the United States, a new 100-mile highway will connect 25 islands from the Florida coast to Key West. Construction began early this year from both ends toward the middle. Huge cable dredges are hauling up rock, sand, and clay to be taken to the end of the ribbon-like road and dumped back into the ocean. Floating dredges drag the bottom, building a long, continuous hill of the ocean floor. Right now, the only available way between Miami and Key West, other than boats, is the railroad which goes from island to island over huge trestles. Only one round trip is made each day. But you don't have to wait for the road to be built if you own a car with knee action. Plenty of time between trains, so why not go right over the ties? The wheels may be doing a lot of bumping around, but the rider goes along smoothly right over the bumps. On the island, the highway is nearly done. Broad, smooth roads that soon will be swarming with tourists and fishermen traveling to and from famous Key West. A huge new automobile factory is completed here. It represents the first automobile plant construction work to be done by any automobile company since 1929. These fine old craftsmen have come from 15 plants throughout the country to take part in the opening ceremonies. Each man has worked an average of 21 years for the company. Their combined ages total nearly 1,800 years. Mayor Howard W. Jackson welcomes the oldest employees of the company and presents them with the key to the city. James Thayer of Flint, Michigan is spokesman for the group. He is 83 years old. At Washington, the Honorable Joseph W. Burns, Speaker of the House of Representatives, gets proof that men twice 40 still hold good jobs with Chevrolet. You tell him, boys, life begins at 80. Well, little lady, here's a real surprise. A brand new horse. Looks as if horses are decreasing in size as well as number. What do you suppose they're going to do with it? Well, well, Dad seems to have succeeded in increasing the horsepower of the car. 80 under the hood and 1 in the back seat. Well, anyway, a half of one. All out, everybody. Come on there, man of war. Don't be so stubborn. That's better. Now you're showing some good old-fashioned horse sense. There we are. That extra horsepower came in handy after all. Riding the rails isn't what it used to be. For a new convertible motor bus that runs just as well over railroad rails as it does over the highway has been put into service here. Leaving the city, the driver very easily flips some convenient levers. Down come a pair of small guide wheels, both in the front and at the rear. They're locked in place. A complete change from road to rail in less than 1 minute, and we're off down the steel highway, out of traffic and with no more stoplights to watch. Rubber tires on shiny steel rails. Perfect riding comfort at all speeds. Not a bump in a carload. Rubber tires grip the wheels better. No slipping, no skidding. Watch out for those cars. No chance for an accident when we can stop like that. It's expecting a lot to think that a train will stop at a crossing, but this new rail bus can do it. The miles fly by in a hurry, and here's the highway again. Miles saved by the rail shortcut. Up come the guide wheels. We're back on the highway again without even a stop. Right down to the center of the village, where we leave passengers and pick up packages for the city. The compartment at the rear is large enough for express, in addition to passengers' baggage. All aboard? "1898 produced this high-powered bit of advertising. In case the picture alone didn't overcome your sales resistance, a line at the bottom was sure to get you. 15 of this style sold in actual use and giving complete satisfaction. In 1899, motorists were offered this version of the family car. If you wanted to buy one of these in 1899, you sent stamps for a catalog and received estimates by return mail. For the first time in 25 years, a motor car drives down one of the shortest and narrowest streets in the world. Once the broad highway of a Spanish king. No, it's not an alley, it's Treasury Street, strictly one-way traffic and no double parking. Thinking of decorating your car? How's this for an idea? It's open season again on bathing beauties, and the fellow who offers a ride to the beach may be getting himself in for a real job. This might easily be termed the toughest driving test known. 20 perfect reasons for a driver to take his eyes off the road. Just the official Miami Beach bathing beauties for 1935. Hitchhiking a ride to the sand and surf playground. All off, girls, end of the line, scram. And the last one in gets sunburned. Prosperity is back again. Construction is starting on thousands of new homes and buildings. At the new armory in Minneapolis, they're working so fast they had to get concrete mixers that do their work on wheels. Now, there's a smart idea. The loading station is about 1 mile away, time enough for complete mixing. In addition to the time saved in mixing, there is room saved on the job. No cluttering up of the place with mixing machinery or materials. This truck is typical of the new machines in industry which are helping to bring business back to normal. More men are required than with the old stationary mixers, yet time, effort, and total cost are all reduced. In the woods, lumber is again being cut on a large scale to supply the demands, and new trucks are doing their part. 9 tons of logs on this one. Thousands upon thousands of logs that will soon be everything from new homes to furniture. Who has the oldest house in the United States? This house is called the oldest, but there's a lot of dispute going on. This one was built more than 3 centuries ago, they say, by Franciscan friars who came here from Spain. But a block away stands the Don Toledo house, another claimant to the title. No one is able to prove it either way, so the argument keeps on. At any rate, the oldest house has been introduced to the newest house, the house on wheels. Old Don Toledo could never have imagined. Out to sea in an automobile on a road through the Atlantic Ocean. At the extreme corner of the United States, a new 100-mile highway will connect 25 islands from the Florida coast to Key West. Construction began early this year from both ends toward the middle. Huge cable dredges are hauling up rock, sand, and clay to be taken to the end of the ribbon-like road and dumped back into the ocean. Floating dredges drag the bottom, building a long, continuous hill of the ocean floor. Right now, the only available way between Miami and Key West, other than boats, is the railroad which goes from island to island over huge trestles. Only one round trip is made each day. But you don't have to wait for the road to be built if you own a car with knee action. Plenty of time between trains, so why not go right over the ties? The wheels may be doing a lot of bumping around, but the rider goes along smoothly right over the bumps. On the island, the highway is nearly done. Broad, smooth roads that soon will be swarming with tourists and fishermen traveling to and from famous Key West. A huge new automobile factory is completed here. It represents the first automobile plant construction work to be done by any automobile company since 1929. These fine old craftsmen have come from 15 plants throughout the country to take part in the opening ceremonies. Each man has worked an average of 21 years for the company. Their combined ages total nearly 1,800 years. Mayor Howard W. Jackson welcomes the oldest employees of the company and presents them with the key to the city. James Thayer of Flint, Michigan is spokesman for the group. He is 83 years old. At Washington, the Honorable Joseph W. Burns, Speaker of the House of Representatives, gets proof that men twice 40 still hold good jobs with Chevrolet. You tell him, boys, life begins at 80. Well, little lady, here's a real surprise. A brand new horse. Looks as if horses are decreasing in size as well as number. What do you suppose they're going to do with it? Well, well, Dad seems to have succeeded in increasing the horsepower of the car. 80 under the hood and 1 in the back seat. Well, anyway, a half of one. All out, everybody. Come on there, man of war. Don't be so stubborn. That's better. Now you're showing some good old-fashioned horse sense. There we are. That extra horsepower came in handy after all. Riding the rails isn't what it used to be. For a new convertible motor bus that runs just as well over railroad rails as it does over the highway has been put into service here. Leaving the city, the driver very easily flips some convenient levers. Down come a pair of small guide wheels, both in the front and at the rear. They're locked in place. A complete change from road to rail in less than 1 minute, and we're off down the steel highway, out of traffic and with no more stoplights to watch. Rubber tires on shiny steel rails. Perfect riding comfort at all speeds. Not a bump in a carload. Rubber tires grip the wheels better. No slipping, no skidding. Watch out for those cars. No chance for an accident when we can stop like that. It's expecting a lot to think that a train will stop at a crossing, but this new rail bus can do it. The miles fly by in a hurry, and here's the highway again. Miles saved by the rail shortcut. Up come the guide wheels. We're back on the highway again without even a stop. Right down to the center of the village, where we leave passengers and pick up packages for the city. The compartment at the rear is large enough for express, in addition to passengers' baggage. All aboard? $18.98 produced this high-powered bit of advertising. In case the picture alone didn't overcome your sales resistance, a line at the bottom was sure to get you. 15 of this style sold in actual use and giving complete satisfaction. In 1899, motorists were offered this version of the family car. If you wanted to buy one of these in 1899, you sent stamps for a catalog and received estimates by return mail. For the first time in 25 years, a motor car drives down one of the shortest and narrowest streets in the world. Once the broad highway of a Spanish king. Nope, it's not an alley, it's Treasury Street. Strictly one-way traffic and no double parking. Thinking of decorating your car? How's this for an idea? It's open season again on bathing beauties. And the fellow who offers a ride to the beach may be getting himself in for a real job. This might easily be termed the toughest driving test known. 20 perfect reasons for a driver to take his eyes off the road. Just the official Miami Beach bathing beauties for 1935. Hitchhiking a ride to the sand and surf playground. All off, girls. End of the line. Scram. And the last one in gets sunburned. Prosperity is back again. Construction is starting on thousands of new homes and buildings. At the new armory in Minneapolis, they're working so fast they had to get concrete mixers that do their work on wheels. Now, there's a smart idea. The loading station is about 1 mile away. Time enough for complete mixing. In addition to the time saved in mixing, there is room saved on the job. No cluttering up of the place with mixing machinery or materials. This truck is typical of the new machines in industry which are helping to bring business back to normal. More men are required than with the old stationary mixers, yet time, effort, and total cost are all reduced. In the woods, lumber is again being cut on a large scale to supply the demands, and new trucks are doing their part. 9 tons of logs on this one. Thousands upon thousands of logs that will soon be everything from new homes to furniture. Who has the oldest house in the United States? This house is called the oldest, but there's a lot of dispute going on. This one was built more than 3 centuries ago, they say, by Franciscan friars who came here from Spain. But a block away stands the Don Toledo house, another claimant to the title. No one is able to prove it either way, so the argument keeps on. At any rate, the oldest house has been introduced to the newest house, the house on wheels. Old Don Toledo could never have imagined such modern transportation at his doorstep. When the horseless carriage was still a colt, this advertisement appeared in the Saturday Evening Post, a clear illustration of progress. Many might prefer the old way. At least it had knee-action legs carrying it, front and rear. Here's a buggy that won a blue ribbon for a 50-mile non-stop run, believe it or not. Guaranteed to climb a 25% grade, and the picture at the left proved it. Note the ease with which the passengers refrain from falling out the rear door. Get up. Half bug and half buggy is this novel streamlined car and touring trailer, owned and built by Angelo R. Novo. The motor has been moved back to the middle of the chassis, but driving and steering controls operate the same as in any other car. The trailer seats 4 persons and sleeps 3. A periscope over the driver's head serves as a rear vision mirror. He may call it streamlining, but it looks like a turtle to us. The wheel of fashion turns to jewelry, and costume jewelry turns to wheels. Exclusive New York shops have introduced a new novelty. Their latest creations are displayed in the luxurious interior of a motor car. Well, it's certainly the right place to show this new piece of costume jewelry, the transportation bracelet, perhaps to be worn when one wants to go places and do things. At this rate, they'll soon be giving a car with every bracelet, but the models don't go with. You have to supply your own. And when milady goes to the theater, even her jewels must be dramatic. Cellophane with brilliants or diamonds are the latest, and the novelty of displaying them against the beauty of the motor car interior is the last word.
Couldn't hear anything over that racket. What'd you say now?
I said I just driven a couple of thousand miles. Can I get my oil changed here?
The United States Army post at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, takes its motor equipment for a hike through the hills. This country seems to have been laid out perfectly for testing the trucks that move the Army. Guns, ammunition, men and machines, Everything rolls on wheels. It takes a lot of power to pull up these hills and the best of brakes to get back down. The artillery must be equipped with brakes to keep it from running over the trucks. Just to be sure that they don't take any shortcuts around the bumps, the captain shows the way, and the Army plays follow the leader. Another couple of hills and then into the woods, and hauling a piece of artillery with you doesn't make it any easier. Up and down hill through mud, water, sand, and anything else that happens to get in the way. Gotta be half duck and half mountain goat to get by here. 5 passengers in the rumble seat lend moral support to the driver. If he gets stuck here, 5 men are going to get their feet wet. The U.S. Army doesn't take any chances with its motor equipment. Every piece proves its worth before it ever gets to be a buck private. At Flint, Michigan, government orders are placed for 18,000 of the most modern trucks, and the production line turns olive drab. Little trucks and big ones, but all will be required to withstand the most severe tests of the United States government standards. Every truck is built with the same precision that goes into the best commercial trucks. Off the line, the insignia are applied and out they go into government service. They're in the Army now. The latest in radiator ornaments. This family watchdog takes to the road in his own private perch. No, not a bird dog. And he even gets no draft ventilation. Maybe they call them dog goggles. To the opera, James, and don't spare the horses. As an ornament, he's great, but as a horn, not so good. He barks at all the cats and only wags his tail at pedestrians. Be careful there, fella. If you don't fold in those ears, you're going to take off in the breeze. Not standard equipment, but a neat accessory. And he certainly gives the car a doggy appearance. Winter fashions here set summer styles for the whole country, so they say. So this display of Burdine's beach fashions on southern shores is strictly for the ladies. Ahem, strictly for the ladies. My, they certainly have beautiful scenery down in the land of winter sunshine. The very latest thing, a printed linen halter top with navy wide rib body. And over this is worn a mottleless terry cloth cape with hood. A one-piece Bahama blue halter maillot in the new Kava stitch. And over this, a heavy terry cloth robe with flared skirt and contrasting linen sash. Something new in beachwear material. Both shorts and shirt are made of chamois gabardine. If you really intend to go in the water, be careful of this one. It's new, a newspaper print suit with a matching short coat and detachable hood. Something to look over while you stretch out on the white sand. Bahama blue with white tubular straps and trim done in Kava stitch in maillot style. A blue rib stitch maillot with white sunback halter top. Lady, how this would have shocked your great-grandmother. A nautical costume of shark skin with fitted coat over a navy and white polka dot silk blouse. Striped maillot with separate plain-colored wraparound skirt. One more, white crepe rubber maillot with fishnet seahorses for trim. Happy days! It may be fun to splash in the ocean surf during the winter months, but way up north, many miles away, you'll find folks that go in for another kind of winter sports. And it's a cinch you can't do these on the seashore. With skis and toboggan, a blue sky, and modern transportation, the stage is set for a lively day. going up. Even here, you'll find hitchhikers. Now for the skis. Here he comes. Mighty breezy up there. Just as easy if you know how. And again, still breezy and still easy. Once more. Whoa! But then you've got to practice somewhere. To be an expert, you've got to start early. Sail ho and ho. Gerald Ball, first mate, second mate, captain, deckhand, and engineer of his own boat, takes first prize as the skipper who has traveled most without getting anywhere. It's less than half a mile across the strait, but he often makes as many as 100 trips a day. Back in 1924, the skipper installed 2 good automobile engines in his seagoing hack, and to date, those 2 engines have putted him back and forth across the lake the equivalent of 200,000 miles each. With a putt-putt here and a putt-putt there, that's 8 times around the world, though with a bit less scenery. Many a motorist has been saved the 20-mile trip around the lake by this ferry, which carries him across in a few minutes. The skipper may not have hydraulic brakes, but he goes his passenger one better by stopping his boat with knee action. Ho-ho-hum! Another dock, another dollar. Hunting without dogs just wouldn't be hunting. And Tim Porter, local sportsman, makes the problem of transporting his setters a very simple one. With a snappy tang in the air, it doesn't take any coaxing to get a couple of frisky dogs ready for a hunting trip. They're doggone enthusiastic. That's the way he keeps them both warm and comfortable on the road in their own private and spacious compartment. How do they get air? That's easy. Adjustable canine, no draft ventilation. There's always plenty of room for the family luggage between hunting trips. And meanwhile, this private compartment transports anything up to a 200-pound St. Bernard. And a dog that large could almost bring back the car if the driver got lost. At any rate, Tim says it's a huge success. It keeps the dogs from getting tired, and they're always pepped up and ready to go even after the longest trips. Get 'em young and teach 'em everything is the motto of Inspector of Traffic Fred J. Manning and Director of School Safety Dick Lemon. Just like downtown, pedestrians, green lights, red lights, and just as much noise. However, schoolboy monitors give a little assistance on directions, and now and then a little push. Those U-turns in the middle of the block don't count. Whoa, red light. Give the pedestrians an even break. Women and children first. Now the green light. Let's go. Don't hold up traffic. Whoops. The pedestrian can be wrong too, but teaching a stop such as this may save many a life someday. Hey, not inside the light. Just like downtown. What? No argument? This can't be downtown. Evidently, these aren't hit-and-talk drivers. Well, things are looking up. Everybody's now on his own. It looks like a lot of fun, but in addition, it's going to make better and safer drivers out of tomorrow's citizens. A new glider, designed and built by the Aeronautical Division of Lawrence Technical High School, tries its wings for the first time with an automobile for starting power. A little pull on the stick and he's off. Whooey! Some rough riding. No, sir, it doesn't take a big hill to start a glider anymore. A 200-yard cable and an automobile make it just a 2-man takeoff. One in the glider and one in the car. The pilot easily drops the cable, leaving his starting power still roaring across the field. The rest is smooth sailing. Off through the clouds for another gliding ride. But everything that goes up must come down, even a new glider. And the test isn't complete until a perfect landing has been made. With an eye to the future, young America scores again. In this case, with a perfect one-point landing. East is east and west is west, and ne'er the twain shall meet. But in this case, a native of the African jungle plays twain with a modern motor car. You're thinking somebody made a monkey out of this driver, but that can't be, for he or she is a chimpanzee, and a chimp is not a monkey. Hey, you monkey-faced chimp, keep your eyes on the road and quit looking at the camera.
Pardon me, you dope. I thought you were a coconut.
Yes, my darling daughter, you may hang your clothes on a hickory limb, but don't go near the water. And look what's up front. It's getting to a point where you can't tell whether these bathing girls are really having a good time or just looking for more publicity. Anyway, here's one way to make four figures look like a million. Up in the Cumberland Mountains of old Kentucky, there's a little village. The only way to reach the village is to turn off the main highway several miles away and cut down, up, through and across hills, valleys, cliffs, and streams. When the inhabitants of the village thought that it ought to have a name, they decided to hold a contest. And contestants find the going mighty tough. A car has to make its own roads and build its own bridges, or else swim across. Struggle, struggle, toil, and nope, no trouble, but plenty of mud, rocks, and bumps. The ruts get rougher and deeper, and it takes a steady hand on the wheel. As a matter of fact, to get anywhere in this contest, a fellow's got to have everything under control. And then, just to throw the rest of them off his trail, this driver takes to the water. An old creek bed doesn't make a very good road, but it's a good shortcut when you're in a hurry. Up in these mountains, a road is still called a road, even if it's just an old pile of rocks. Anyway, they can't come much rougher than this. At last he reaches the village. Congratulations are in order, and the village is named after the winner. The sport of wrestling finds its way into the Everglades. Tommy Clark, veteran of the ring, is touring the local countryside and carrying his opponent with him. Said opponent is riding comfortably in the back seat. Whether you can see him or not, he's there.
Let me at him.
His professional name is Punch Drunk Percy. No, not because he'd make a good handbag. However, they just call him Allie for short. Come on, Allie, show a little pep, or there won't be any herring for breakfast. Good gracious, Allie, you ought to see a dentist. Your 84th bicuspid there on the left side's in terrible shape. Now, stick out your tongue and say ah.
Ah!
And now how about for the customers? It looks like this may be just a flop. That's fine, Allie. Just like the big time. Great stuff. You sound like a champion. Don't criticize him, folks. He's doing his best. What more could you expect for a couple herring a day? And poor Allie, bout after bout, he goes round and round and always comes out on the bottom. And now after that stiff workout, Tommy takes Allie out in the gentle breezes for his herring. Bank robbers and gangsters take notice. The riding, shooting Miami police are practicing their shooting on the run. What's this, a duel? Pistols at 20 paces, boys? Well, good luck. Just when a policeman begins to think he's a dead shot on 2 feet, they transfer him to the mounted squad, and he has to start all over. Hit and run drivers will have to watch out for these run and hit drivers. They used to shoot from the hip. Now they shoot from the knees. After winter comes spring, and along with spring comes every skipper with his boat. A little varnish, a little elbow grease, and she's ready for the spring launching. It's a long portage from dry dock to a faraway lake in the mountains, but it doesn't seem to worry this skipper. Shiver my timbers, says he. But this is no time for shivering. Balmy breezes are blowing over the bay. Tire down tight, and let's get underway. All shipshape, the lady that was known as Lou takes off on a long, dry cruise into the mountains. There's nothing like a private little lake miles from nowhere. Fishing, swimming, and everything else that's fun in the good old summertime. And if there's a road that goes there, it's easy enough to take the boat along. Of course, a few assistants come in handy when it's time to unload, but it's no trouble at all with a gang like this. Avast, ahoy, and clear the docks, boys. Let her down easy, and we'll all go out to launch. In many cities throughout the country, the newest thing for downtown parking is this automatic collector of external revenue, the 5-cent parking machine. And it's usually a welcome sight to motorists, for who wouldn't gladly fork over a nickel when he's in a hurry? Of course, no nickel, no parky, and that's no fooling. Well, girls, I was saving this, but if we must, we must. A twist of the wrist, and up goes the green flag, where it will stay for 30 minutes. No more, no less. Don't forget, girls, 30 minutes or else. Uh-oh, here's the or else, uniform and all. The little clock in the steeple has evidently ticked away the 30 minutes, after which down came the little green flag. The only way to get ahead of this watchdog is to get back every half hour and feed the kitty. Too late, Miss Parker. The little green flag has fallen to half-mast. So sorry, girls, but you can't beat the parking watchdogometer. Stop the music, boys. The show is about to begin. And what a show, what a show. You might be all wet, but not socially, when you get a front row seat at this Florida water carnival. Anything and everything can and does happen in an open-air swimming pool. In this corner, ladies and gentlemen, we have Battling Burpo, together with his stooge, just a couple of matadors having a raft of fun. How ducky. When you float the mat on a nice soft pool like this, it saves wear and tear on the ringside seats, and it keeps the fight a lot cleaner too. He's up, he's down. No, he's still up. Man overboard. Every good wrestler knows how and when to take a dive. And just to make sure, somebody greased the pole. You don't have to be a wrestler to know how, but it helps. Look out. My, isn't there a pair of flat feet in the crowd? Must be a bit slippery. Down to the sea in slips. This stunt wouldn't be so easy to do in an old-fashioned bathing suit. But then, bathing suits didn't used to be what they are today. Or rather, they didn't used to be what they are not today. Well, goodbye, girls. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, not counting the driver. Out in Hollywood, the pretty girls that dress the background for the dancing stars of the big musicals have found a top hat way to go into the water. There's nothing like a solid steel springboard for safety. Give these girls a pool, a few square inches of bathing suit, and a car with a hard top, and the little matter of diving becomes very simple. Of course, there's the problem of offering the least resistance to the water, but all these models are beautifully streamlined, and that always makes diving much easier to watch. In 1913, Hiram Donor, a carpenter of Quentin, Pennsylvania, bought himself an automobile to use in his business. And for 23 years, Hiram has been using his car in and around Quentin. Hiram is proud of his old car and proud, too, of the record he has made with it. 250,000 miles, and he has never had an accident. Over this period of 23 years, he has spent a total of $270 for license plates, $45 for repainting, and guess how much for repairs? Just $25. The car isn't exactly streamlined, but then the driver is always air-cooled in summer and in winter. As a reward for the years of service and the record for safety which Hiram has made, they are presenting him with a new 1936 modern automobile.
Mr. and Miss Donor, I want to congratulate you on the marvelous record you made.
Thank you.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present you with the keys for your new 1936 Chevrolet.
And I thank you ever so much.
I hope you enjoy it. You too,
Yeah.
Mrs. Donor.
Shirley Ville.
Thank you.
I think the new car is lovely. Isn't that enough now?
Yeah, I get it.
Time has been very kind to Mr. and Mrs. Donor, and the new car should help them to be just as happy as two kids and just as spry. At Flint, Michigan, a crowd of 35,000 enthusiastic fight fans gather to watch the General Motors Amateur Boxing Tournament in the Atwood Stadium. And the referee is the most famous of them all, that idol of boys and men, Jack Dempsey. As a preliminary, two flea weights prepare to mix it up. And under the eyes of the Manasseh Mauler, they do all they can to achieve a knockout. But Jack tells the boys to stop stalling around. And just to show him what they can do, they make the fur fly. In one of the main bouts, two automobile companies are represented by two handy-fisted employees. The winner, he looks as though he could take it, and boy, can he pass it out. In this gentle game of give and take, if the eye isn't quick, the ear becomes cauliflower. Inspecting turret tops as they come off the assembly line is a made-to-order job for James Scott, a regular cloud biter who looks low to see how things are on the top. It isn't hard for him to look over a hard top. Starting with these violin cases, size 17, and measuring carefully, we find that Jim is just exactly 7 feet 3 inches tall, although he's only 22 years old. he's inclined to look down on people. But then, what can you expect from that altitude? The Ozark Mountains in Missouri, the land of good old mountain music. And if you know the roads, a mighty fine place to fish. Mr. Ray Bergman, an editor of the Outdoor Life magazine, has a weakness for fishing, and he knows just where to go to find the ones which bite. It's only 2 hops, 4 skips, and a flock of jumps away from town, over a super highway which leads straight, well, almost straight, to the river. The fish wait patiently for Mr. Bergman, and sometimes Mr. Bergman waits patiently for the fish, but it isn't all waiting. However, up in northern Michigan, they don't always leave their cars on the shore. Say, what kind of a boat do you think you're launching? The smelter running. Every spring in the little streams off the Great Lakes, thousands of these fish get the urge to go places and do things. What they do, nobody cares. But where they go is very important to this man. All smelt who are interested in a ride have been invited to climb into the back seat, if fish can climb. There's plenty of room for all who care to enjoy the comforts of the modern motor car. No hooks, no line, no bait, no waiting. Just close the door, and with any luck at all, you have a load of passengers. It's not very scientific from the Isaac Walton point of view, but then, the man who fishes for smelt doesn't measure his success by the number of fish he gets, but by the pounds. There's no law to limit the catch, and the fisherman may have just as many as he can carry away. Let's see how many of the little fellows were motor-minded. This watertight body brings them back alive. And that is the end of the fish story, and also the end of those fish. Canine Society is all agog and a-twitter this afternoon as Major Kerr of the Doggy Kerrs entertains at tea. Dressed in a bully brown and white coat, the Major welcomes his many guests with a charming smile. Several of the guests arrive on 4 legs, while others motor down from their nearby estates. Guards have been placed at all exits to watch for the dog catcher, and the party progresses quickly, but not quietly. Mrs. Spitz, Herbert Rover, and Alan Spaniel of the Newport Spaniels are all very impatient for something to eat. Also, this member of the younger set. One of the best behaved guests at the party is this youthful policeman, but now he's getting hungry. In fact, they all are. And something's going to happen if, it does.
Hey, you butts. Ain't yous got no manners?
Special express to the beach. The coaches may not be speedy, but at least they're air-conditioned. A streamlined locomotive to match the passengers. What a train, and what service. A sunbath on the way to the beach. At least you can't do this in an upper berth. The girls seem rather frantic to splash in the blue sea. If they actually get wet, it'll probably be a miracle. This way, please. Look out, girls, you'll get your feet wet. In the motor capital of the world, they're trying something new in a campaign to make careless drivers and absent-minded pedestrians stop, look, and listen. This roving voice of the police is a watchdog of traffic, giving orders at just the right time to make both drivers and jaywalkers safety conscious, like this.
Please, lady, always look at the traffic signal before you step from the curb. Red signal lights mean that pedestrians as well as motorists should stop and wait. Mr. Motorist, be careful. This is the voice of safety speaking. Do not double park your car. When you do, you not only violate the traffic ordinance, you also create a traffic hazard.
And is his face red? The traffic officers are finding this a good way to save wear and tear on their pencils, and it's a lot quicker than writing tickets. And so, around Detroit, the voice of safety travels, a constant reminder to motorists and pedestrians to think, not once, but twice. The 1936 National Championship Model Airplane Meet gets underway with all the thrills of real flying. 300 model airplane builders from all parts of the United States, Canada, France, and England, with models of just about every type of plane built anywhere in the world. A real gasoline engine, only one cylinder, however, but it has a real spark plug, and it sparks just like the big ones. It has to, for a perfect takeoff like this. Look out below. Not all the glory goes to the boys. This member of the fair sex built the entire plane herself. Here's the most exciting of all events, the endurance flight with the hardest of all takeoffs, rising from the ground. Time is clocked on each entry. A plane must keep within sight of the judges to remain in the contest. And after 30 to 40 minutes in the air, not many come back for a perfect landing like this. Uh-oh, almost too late. The family car seems to have been converted into an airplane carrier. The boxes in the luggage compartment back of the rear seat aren't shoes or lunch, just the spare parts and repair department in case of a bad crash. Got to weigh in first to figure out the fuel supply. A half ounce of gasoline for every pound of plane. 4 drops less than a teaspoonful. At that rate, he gets about 412 miles to the gallon. There's a simple adjustment on the motor to fit the grade of gasoline, just like the octane selector on Dad's car. And now, after all this excitement, it looks like our little entry got off the course. At times like this, a contestant begins to believe his plane goes a bit too far. But all's well that ends well. Little Willie, Sammy, Johnny, Henry, Cuthbert, or whatever his name is, gets back his putt-putter all safe and sound. It's really very simple if you have all the equipment and know how to work it. The surveyors are first on the job. The drill truck hoists the drill over the surveyor's mark. Water from the tender softens the hard ground, and down goes the drill, about 20 feet. Meanwhile, the crew on the shooting truck gets out the dynamite and the firing box. The recording truck arrives and hooks up the detectors. 4 detectors are placed just below the surface and all hooked up to a camera. After inspecting all connections, the observer climbs in and sets the camera. 4 pounds of dynamite in this charge. The shooting crew is all set to go. But let's see what happens underground. The problem is to locate the hump in the rock strata. The oil bed is usually closer to the surface at that point. The sound waves go down to the solid rock, hit the hump, and bounce back up. The photograph of the echoes is developed on the spot. From the little humps in these lines, the engineers can figure the exact location of that big hump underground. And with the record down on paper, there's nothing more to be done. So off in a cloud of dust rolls the caravan. There's another job waiting for them several hundred miles away. At home aboard, with all the comforts of traveling over the highway, Mr. Percy Hunt of Buffalo, New York, now goes to sea behind the wheel of a motor car. During the week, Mr. Hunt sells automobiles. And like the postman who goes for a walk on Sunday, Mr. Hunt gets out his floating motor car on weekends and takes another gliding ride over the waters of Lake Erie. Ventipanes do a double job here, keeping out spray as well as draft. The six-cylinder valve and head engine has been transferred directly from the car to the boat, even using the original rubber engine mountings. However, a couple of hawsers make the best parking brakes. Whatever the weather, both driver and passengers cruise over the lake with all the comfort of motoring along the highway. No hills, no stoplights. A driver's paradise. Just one big boulevard with oceans of parking space. The cruiser is 35 feet long. It weighs 5,000 pounds. Average cruising speed is 18 and top speed 20 miles an hour. What a perfect car for the streets of Venice. Mickey is also very fond of dominoes. There's nothing better than a good game of dominoes. Mickey likes all the boys at Fire Station number 10 in Minneapolis, but most of all, he likes best the domino players. So the boys play dominoes, and Mickey displays great interest. Oh, yes. There's one thing Mickey likes better than dominoes, and that's fires. Oh, boy, does he like fires. Gangway for Mickey the Polecat. Come on, Mickey. Don't be so camera shy. There's work to be done. There's nothing faster than riding with the chief. Here, here, keep that mouth shut. You're supposed to be excited. And say, where's your hat? Bareback baseball, if you please. Without bats, bases, or umpire, and not much of a uniform. They used to call it anti-eye over. Now it's just anti. Even beach ball gets monotonous. At least the game has been called on account of something or other. It may even be something exciting. Anyway, it's unanimous. Let's tag along and see. Come, girls. Let's get out of here before sundown. Well, that's action, but they're not really as far from the beach as one might think. Many a mountain grows near the seashore, and that turns our little bevy of bathers into mountain mermaids, or snow maids, or something. The girls on the fenders are rust-proof, but so are the fenders, for that matter. Hey, don't start that again. Bullseye! After 80 years of planning and 3 years of actual building, the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge is completed, the largest engineering structure ever conceived and built by men. The main span of the bridge, crossing nearly 2 miles of water, is hung on 4 all-steel box girder constructed piers. Each one is 48 stories high. Now for the official opening ceremony. The golden chain is cut with an acetylene torch. Whistles shriek. The harbor fireboats streak the air with ribbons of water. And the first cars to cross the world's largest bridge come rolling along like a regiment of soldiers. From the top of the towers, they're like toy cars on a ribbon, with spider webs of steel stretching up to the huge cables that support the roadway. Along both sides, there are heavy steel guardrails. Every precaution has been taken to make this the world's safest as well as largest bridge. Along the second deck roll trucks and buses. There's plenty of traffic. All in all, 30 million vehicles and 50 million people will cross the bridge every year. A smooth way to rough it. 1 million Americans today are living in homes on wheels. 250,000 trailers are those homes. Every day you see them skimming along the highways everywhere. With the modern automobile, there's plenty of power to pull them up the longest and toughest hills. In Trailer City, Florida, are 1,000 of these homes. Their owners park for $1 per week plus 25 cents for electricity. The life is not expensive, for in a trailer, modern conveniences are within the reach of people of limited means, many of whom could not afford them before. Cold weather is seldom a problem, for the inhabitants of this little city follow the seasons. Perhaps a month from now may find many of them 3,000 miles away, across a continent. In Trailer City, you'll find nearly every variety of home, from the one that Dad himself put together on the old farm back in Iowa to a custom-built deluxe model that cost $8,000. A license plate is often the only indication that the house is on wheels. As you stroll along the street, you'll find most of the homes are as unlike as their owners. But now and then, you'll find a pair of twins. This one has a huge beak that makes it look like a native pelican. Today, the house next door may be occupied by a retired bachelor banker. If it rolls away during the night, tomorrow's sun may bring a barber with 7 youngsters. Stores and shops, too, are often found on wheels. This one is a curio shop that's almost as old and weather-beaten as the truck on which it rides. Mother still washes the dishes and most everything else. Just for instance, the lineup that makes a familiar flapping sound in the Monday morning breeze. There are plenty of leisure moments for the housewife. She just can't find a great deal of work in a one-room house. A radio in the car brings entertainment and the daily news, and the automatic charging notch on the light switch helps to make sure the battery is kept fully charged, even though the car is driven only a few miles a day. Today may find the trailer family under the shadow of the palms, but tomorrow, the American travel instinct urges them away, over the highway, on spinning wheels. Whether it's cold or whether it's hot, he tends his traps, whether or not. Yes, sir, the lobster fisherman hasn't time to worry much about the weather. In come the orders, and out go the lobsters. But that's getting a little ahead of the story. Up and down the rugged New England coast, most any morning, summer or winter, you'll find hundreds of lobster fishermen like this one, cruising across the inlets and shallow bays, pulling in their traps. While the lobster is known as one of the world's greatest food delicacies, he is also famous for being just about the world's dumbest creature. So dumb, in fact, that he could easily get out of the trap if he had sense enough to turn around and go out the way he came in. But he doesn't. And this is the beginning of the end. The claws are plugged with wooden pegs, and from now on, he's as harmless as a kitten. Bait is not expensive, for a lobster is as curious as he is dumb, and a piece of red flannel is often sufficient to entice him into the trap. With the traps all neatly deposited on the bottom of the bay again, waiting for more customers, the lobster fisherman homeward plods his weary way. But now the lobster tries to get even. He demands cool, damp moss in which to live, and he refuses to live long if he doesn't get it. So, speedy transportation to the packing house is an absolute necessity, and many a truck like this one can be seen along New England highways, giving very special delivery service to his nobs, the lobster. At the packing house, he is speedily transferred to barrels of moss and ice to be rushed, sometimes 1,000 miles inland, where he will arrive still alive and kicking. He may be dumb, but as the main course for a delicious dinner, he's the tops. Steaks and short orders at all hours. It comes apart a la carte. He puts it in here, the meat goes ground and ground, and it comes out here. A few years ago, Fido ate the dinner leftovers and was glad to get them, but not so today. In the past year, One or more canine food kitchens like this one have been established in nearly every metropolitan city in the country. And Fido now gets a scientifically balanced diet, just what the doctor orders. Yeast, iron, calcium, phosphates. It may look like hamburger, but there's a lot more in it than even Fido would ever suspect. To keep the cost per lunch as low as possible, they use a regular production line. Here is a man who probably has more dog friends than anybody you know. In fact, he has about the same number as there are boxes in this delivery truck. Just for example, it's dinner time again. Gangway! No one but a hungry hound would have ever heard the delivery man out front. But of course, nobody but a hungry hound is very much interested. To the average individual, the dog sounds as if he were doing a lot of unnecessary barking. But actually, he's saying, "Gee, pal, I thought you'd never get here. Nice to have seen you, and don't forget to come back tomorrow." He doesn't do this every day. This is just to prove that he really enjoys his lunch, and how. And while Fido goes to work, you might be interested in knowing that the chef back at the Canine Kitchens has obligingly taken care of the less fortunate members of the neighborhood who have been on relief for the past few months.
Was on a sunny summer day the Jolly Rover put to sea, loaded with a couple of the strangest fishermen you ever saw. As a matter of fact, they're out looking for soup. Now, who'd ever expect to find a bowl of soup out here in the ocean? Well, you never can tell. There she blows, quick Watson the harpoon, and he misses. Only one thing to do now, peel off the shirt and go after him with a rope. Avast, me hearties, full speed astern. What a way to go fishing. Man, oh man, for just a bowl of soup, this fellow is kicking up a lot of commotion. Ride him, cowboy, don't let him throw you. And here comes the soup. He's even bringing along his own bowl. Old Hardshell himself, at least 200 years old. Much too old and dignified to appreciate all the excitement. But he's not nearly as harmless as he looks. The fishermen keep well out of the way of those heavy jaws, ready to snap at anything that gets close enough for him to reach. 285 pounds, well into the heavyweight class as a wrestler. So it's home again with a cargo of turtle meat and enough tortoise shell for a boatload of spectacles. But it takes a derrick to get this double-decked sea beast ashore. Steady there, or it's down to the sea again for Old Man Turtle. Turning turtle is a trick in itself, especially when the turtle is equipped with a pair of 10-inch jaws. And that makes this automobile the only one in existence with a double turret top.
If I'd listened to Mama, I wouldn't be in this mess.
And away he goes. He'll be seeing you in a nice warm bowl of turtle soup. The horse is here to stay, at least in the city of Detroit, where working like a horse involves a certain amount of luxury. Breakfast in a quiet nook, a personal servant to complete the morning's dress, and then off to a busy day's work in the midst of city traffic. But getting off to work is just so much horseplay to these animals, for here is the last word in horsey transportation, a stable on wheels, a limousine that caters exclusively to sleek animals of the police force. To the office, Patrick, and please spare the horses. With this new kind of transportation, it's just a question of putting the cart around the horse and rolling softly away to a hard day's work. Of course, you can always depend on a police officer to signal correctly for a right-hand turn. So begins another day for Dobbin, who's in the best of health and chipper as a colt. The modern horse cart unloads with master at the reins, ready once more to pick up the job of untangling traffic. And in the middle of crowded city streets, the trained police animal calmly looks over the hurrying lines of traffic. A perfect picture of real horse sense. The line forms on the... What kind of a show is this? Now, here's the way to get out of a sand trap, depending, of course, on which way you're going. Or you can play 'em alley-oop. The pitcher hollers alley when he shoots, and the catchers on top holler oop whenever they miss. But they don't miss often with such fancy pitching. The beginner keeps both eyes on the ball. The golf instructor does the same, if possible. And, well, it's not a bad business to be in at times. He learned this one knocking winding weights off cuckoo clocks. But don't let him fool you. There's a trick to it, even with practice. This one is not recommended for beginners. If you must try it, be sure the car has a stabilized front end. You'll need it. Without, you're apt to wind up playing ostrich in the sand. Here's another simple little trick, providing you can get somebody to hold the ball. Always use a wooden leg for practice. Try it for size, and while you're at it, you might as well try this one. At the edge of the Texas Panhandle, the good earth has turned to dust. Soil that once grew wheat now clots the highways, drifting in smothering clouds, choking every green and living thing. But a man-made war against the creeping dust is now underway. Men and machines dig into the earth in the fight for water. Armies of well drillers are moving across the dust-driven plains to bring relief for thirsting crops. Ditches are scraped out, the dust-bitten earth opened to the flow of water from hundreds of wells, operated by sturdy automobile engines, pumping 1,200 gallons of water every minute, day and night, with never a stop, day in and day out, week after week. And every time another cloud of dust sweeps in from the horizon, there's plenty of need for the air cleaner that keeps that stifling cloud out of the engine. Once again, wheat begins to cover the plains, giving promise of another victory over the elements. Acres of musty, lifeless soil are transformed, rich black earth made possible by water, enough to supply the needs of dried-up farms of the Dust Bowl. Where the dust now creeps in stifling drifts, soon there will be seas of waving wheat fields. Man and soil, parched for want of water, are finding relief in tiny man-made rivers. Good evening, everybody. We're bringing you this pussy weight championship fight direct from the ringside. Both fighters are already in the ring, and the crowd is restless. This broadcast is being brought to you through the courtesy of the Quality Catnip Corporation, makers of that crispy, crinkly, crunchy catnip kiddies crave. Both fighters are sitting quietly in their corners. Neither one shows the anxiety that's written beneath his furrowed brow. It won't be long now, folks. The gentlemen of the press are writing at top speed. There's the bell. Both fighters are starting slowly. There they go. Now they're out in the center of the ring, and they're mixing it up. Plenty. Man, oh man, what a fight this is going to be. Gus leads to right, then ducks a low blow to the midsection. Oh! Gus got in a left hook that shook Butch clear down to his heels. Now Gus lands a right, and a left, and a right. Butch is crouching. He's waiting for a chance at that famous right hook. Look out! Oh! He missed by a whisker. Now they're out in the center of the ring again. They're trading punches. 1, 2, 1, 2. They're hard at it, slugging each other with rights and lefts and rights and lefts. What a battle. There! Gus got in another right to the whiskers. And another, and a left, and a right. And Butch comes back with a left, and another left, and a right. Oh, it won't be long now. There it is! There it is! Gus is down. Butch rushes to a neutral corner. There's the count. 2, 3. Butch is trying to get on his feet. 4, 5. He's still making a supreme effort. 6, 7. He pulls himself up onto the ropes. 8, 9. He can't make it. 10, and out. The winner! A new world's pussy weight champion. Most anything is apt to pull into a trailer camp nowadays, but the last thing you'd expect is a perambulating barber shop. If you won't come to the barber will come to you. And here's a customer. Johnny wants a haircut. Right this way, young man, to the Blue Sky Tonsorial Parlor. Here they are. But are they? Where's the shop? Well, lather my whiskers. Not a bad idea, this. No rent. Cuts down on the overhead. He seems to have just about everything in there, but a pink police gazette. Tony never has to ask the customer if he wants it wet or dry. The weatherman decides that. This is the only barbershop in the world that issues rain checks. Johnny wants a haircut like his old man's, with a hole in the middle. Well, it'll be a long time before he has to comb his hair with a towel. Now for a little tonic, to give Johnny that real barbershop aroma. The lacquer finish serves Tony as a mirror. Take a look at yourself, Johnny. A lot of boys will see themselves as others see them. Well, when a fella's going out with the girls, he has to do it right. Another shekel goes into the cash register. And the Blue Sky Barber Shop moves on, trailing more customers. Don't let the cowcatcher fool you. It's just an automobile with false whiskers. It's been working on the railroad for a long time on a short line in Tennessee, the Oneida and Western. It carries the mail and express and passengers, in fact everything but freight, and it's right on time too. It's a run of 38 miles from terminal to terminal through the heart of the beautiful Cumberland district. At every station along the way, people get on and off. The engineer is mighty proud of his iron horse. The valve-in-head truck engine has 350,000 miles under its belt. The old iron horse can still take them there and bring them back. She can still make these mountain grades, even with loads of passengers and express. She still pulls like an army mule. Yes, sir, she'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. There goes the fire alarm, and the doggiest fireman in town is right on his toes. Chief is his name, and he's #1 member of Engine Company #2, Oliphant, Pennsylvania. To the fire, boys, and drive like blazes. Chief is the idol of the lady pooches, and right now he's giving them all a ring. Must be a big fire. The chief hopes that it's the dog pound. Up with the ladder, boys. Oh, fireman, save my dolly. Careful there, Chief, or you'll be just another hot dog. Ah, good going. You're a real fireman, Chief. So the little girl gets back her dolly. Ah, nice doggy. And for bravery under fire and smoke, the boys are voting him a raise. 2 bones a day and a snappy new lid. Here's a man who gets a real kick out of traffic jams. The bigger they are, the better he likes them. Introducing Lieutenant Murnane, Communications Officer of the New Jersey State Police. Right now, he's taking the air in a National Guard plane for a bird's-eye view of the traffic tangle, the first step in a brand new plan for speeding up holiday driving. Lieutenant Murnane has direct two-way radio communication with a police ground station. Traffic on routes 4 and 5 is piling up. Route 28 is less crowded. And so, the ground station gets the news. It's flashed over the teletype and to police substations. Soon, traffic police in radio cars pick it up. And meanwhile, the motoring public, creeping along on congested highways, gets hourly police bulletins through radio broadcasts.
We interrupt the program at this time to give you the following information. Advisable to avoid Victory Bridge due to heavy congestion. Northbound traffic advised to take Route S28 to New Brunswick Traffic Circle, and then Route 25 into New York.
It's a novel linking of police, plane, radio, and teletype. Another step forward in solving traffic problems. Well, it looks as if Mr. and Mrs. would get home in time for supper after all. What's all the excitement about? Good seats are at a premium. Why, it's the International Gold Cup Regatta, the big racing event of the year, and speed boats are roaring to go places in events that always pack a thrill. The boats flash by, cutting the water at 80, 90 miles an hour, even taking to the air. Beauty, stamina, power. The machine gun roar of the overhead valve engines, hurtling through water and air like lubricated lightning. It's anybody's race with a thrill a minute. The Notre Dame scores a brilliant victory, a thrilling finish to a thrilling fight. Hey, what's this? It's all over. How'd you get in this race? From almost every page of every magazine, the face of a beautiful girl smiles, and with that smile, invites you to read further and learn more about everything from soup to soap. But it's not always the snapshot, it seems. There's plenty of work involved in getting our little Nell to smile demurely from the printed page. In the first place, the beach is as false as Grandpa's upper plate. All done with the aid of mirrors. Presto, and the world is yours. Every studio is a little Hollywood in its own right, and it may be right around the corner in your own hometown. Next, the outdoor girl. 1,000,000 magazine readers will find her lovely to look at. Okay, General, but don't shoot till you see the whites of her eyes. Well, it doesn't look quite right to the lad behind the lens, so the director tries juggling the props a bit. Let's go. Here's the girl, the time, and the place. No, it's the wrong place. Hey, Joe, you've got your scenery scrambled. It's June in January, but what happened next nobody can remember because everything went. Comes the dawn, and what's this? They're all set with the next set. But again, things are not what they seem. It takes half a dozen lights placed flat on the floor of the car to properly backlight the model. The cameraman has to be careful about reflections. Changing the angle of the no-draft ventilator eliminates the glare. And in order to kill their reflection in the Duco finish, they pull another trick out of the bag. And now they're ready to take it. Hold that pose. And here it is, another perfect picture. How quick can you stop? Not when the officer is looking at you, but in a tough under-fire braking test, down a steep hill where it's make or break. A stop between the white lines is a perfect score. And so he gets a good mark in the good book, which this automatic brake tester verifies. The report card he receives he can take home to Papa to prove that he's passed the test by the safest of margins. This stop test is part of San Francisco's safe driving campaign. The steep natural proving grounds lend themselves to many another unusual test. Unofficial and unscientific, but nevertheless effective. A policeman gives the signal, then it's downhill again. This poker face in the stuffed shirt is the perfect deadpan comedian, with the face that can stop a car. Diamonds, precious gems to enhance the sparkle of a sparkling personality. To milady, they have always been the symbol of luxury. But to the tool maker, they are the symbol of precision. Millions of dollars worth of black diamonds are used in industry. Precision tools are studded with these gems. Many moving parts in the modern automobile engine must fit to within limits equal to 1/20th the thickness of a human hair. A metal tool would soon become dull and useless, but a diamond, the hardest known substance, carefully trims and smooths the hardest metals. And so, for the greatest precision, this industry relies on diamond-studded drills and dressers. These connecting rods are made to fit gray iron pistons with absolute accuracy. In the precision building of the modern motor car, the diamond becomes much more useful than ornamental.
Desolation, ruin, doors and windows open to the elements, weeds growing in business streets, stores without customers, squirrels and field mice the only inhabitants. And yet a year ago, this was the bustling little town of Leavenworth, Indiana. When the townspeople left, they left in a hurry. They were fleeing for their lives. Householders left their belongings to ruin and decay. The song is ended. And the reason? Old Man River up to his old tricks. The usually calm Ohio, gorged with winter floodwaters, drowned and battered little Leavenworth. It may have happened before, but the people of Leavenworth are making certain it will never happen again. Picks bite into the hillsides. Eyes pore over blueprints, planning, working, looking forward. Saws and hammers make a cheery hubbub, and new homes rise on the pleasant slopes above the Ohio. A tent city houses the refugees from flood-ruined Leavenworth. And here under canvas, life goes on much the same as ever. Cooking, cleaning, washing. Digging, hauling, building. Swiftly the new Leavenworth takes shape. Built securely in the good earth, the good high and dry earth. It's a new day for Leavenworth and a new day for many similar communities. Building new homes, safe from the ravages of raging floodwaters. Hey, Skinny, the circus is coming to town. A complete menagerie, ferocious beasts of the forest. Nothing lacking to make this the biggest little show on earth. An educated quadruped in every cage. The line forms to the right, so don't get left. Step right up, gang, the show is on. When the cat's away, the rats will play. But in this case, it's not just a plain ordinary rat. It's a trained Russian hooded rodent. Up the ladder like a smoke eater, and 2 steps at a time, mind you. A big hand for the daredevil while the ringmaster lines up the next act. Here's a rat who knows the ropes. He's the clown prince of the aerial circus, and he likes to give his variation on an old theme, the fine art of flagpole sitting. But you can't work up on a job like that, so it's down again. Give this rat enough rope and he'll tie himself into knots trying to please the customers. Fencing is his favorite sport, and he climbs this one with the greatest of ease, this daring young rat on the flying trapeze. Or maybe there's a cat in the audience, and he's trying to disguise himself as a revolving door. And now for the grand finale, presenting Archie in the leap for life, through a dangerous hoop of fire. It's terrific, it's better than that, it's sensational, it's much too high. Happy landing, the bullseye, and the show's over. Aw, rats. There's big doings in Memphis, a big day for the police department, and even bigger for the schoolboy safety patrol. 1,000 lusty, husky throats cheering wildly in the parade to celebrate a great safety record. For 15 years, Memphis boys and girls have been going to and from school day after day without a single fatality. Not even a serious accident in 15 years. Credit for this great record goes to the traffic monitors, members of the schoolboy patrol system, like this one, who guard the thousands of crossings before and after school. He always looks both ways before crossing the street, and then goes the safe old saying one better by blowing his whistle and pushing the button too. Another monitor warns approaching traffic of the lights, which by this time have all turned red. Motorists step on the brakes and all traffic comes to a sudden halt. Some responsible job, this monitoring business. Of course, this afternoon shift is a snap. Mornings when it's tough, because for some strange reason, these young pedestrians are much more anxious to get away from school in the afternoon than they are to get to class in the morning.
For sale, one horseless carriage with four-man top and whippletree, tires good as new, except for a little rust. What'll you offer? But say, no fooling, there's big news going around Chippewa County in northern Michigan. For old Joe Williburton finally sold his last pair of geldings, then traded his Sunday go-to-meet in Surrey for a snappy new 1939 motor car. Hot ziggity, boys, ain't she a dandy? Gosh, all fish hooks, better get going and show the missus. Get up, Geraldine. No, not that way, Joe. Here's the get-app right here under the wheel. And see there, it's just as easy to work as it used to be to the old team. Now, Geraldine was a fine old nag, dependable, economical, and durable. But Geraldine was never like this, in spite of all her great features. Remember how she used to falter now and then on the old Pine Tree Hill? Poor old Jerry. She was usually pretty speedy, too, but after all, only 1 horsepower. So even old Joe Williburton finally gets around to putting his horsepower under a hood. There'll be no holding him now, except, of course, when...
Doggone these farmers anyhow.
One side there, friend. Here comes, and there goes Kid Williburton, the new Chippewa County Flash. Down a Lone Star Trail, through rough and barren Texas rolling hills dotted with mesquite, in Indian file rolls a strange caravan of men and motor trucks. Red flags flap in the hot, dry, sun-scorched breeze, flapping a warning of danger. A strange caravan indeed. Man-made camels pause for gasoline, though like real camels, they too go days without water. As cargo, these trucks carry 700 quarts of soup. Extra strong soup, as a matter of fact, for in addition to being called soup, it is also known as glycerol trinitrate, or more simply, nitroglycerin, the most powerful known commercial explosive in the world, nearly twice as strong as dynamite. With such a cargo, it's easy to see why the drivers are never bothered with hitchhikers. The boys don't work too fast because they always remember that famous old saying, try to be the oldest soup handler in the business, not the fastest. And even so, at any speed, it's too fast for most folks. For about 2/3 of a cup of this soup could blow the average house, barn, or garage somewhere into the middle of next Thursday. The full 700 quarts going off at once probably wouldn't even leave anybody around close enough to hear the boom. That's why they dip it in oil before loading the casing. Even the friction caused by sliding it in dry might easily cause an explosion. Careful, boys, it's bad luck, you know, to stumble with one of those loaded casings. Into the last one goes the time clock bomb, set to explode in exactly 1 hour. They allow a full hour because the casing may get stuck on its way down, and if it does, they'll have to get it loose, pull it all the way back up, and disconnect the clock again before it sets off the time bomb. An hour for that job is none too much when you're playing with 700 quarts of nitroglycerin. Down, down, down it goes, 4,000 feet into the earth. 1 hour later, there's a sharp click in the ground underfoot. Tons of oil which were poured into the well to hold down the charge begin to bubble, then foam, then roar skyward. Then comes the gas, raining rocks through the steel rig with all the clatter of 100 machine guns. Success! But even before the roaring gusher is capped, motors begin to sing again, and the strange caravan heads off across the Texas plains on its way to the next job. Howdy, Professor. Won't you drop in for a spot of tea? No, thanks, boys, but here's a tip on that English assignment I made this afternoon. Yes, it's Professor Hill in person, but he doesn't surprise the boys at Valley Forge Military School anymore, for he's been high-stepping about the campus for so many years now, they're getting mighty used to it. Professor Hill has made a hobby of hobbling about on poles for some 20 years or more. Hobbling to music is even more fun, especially when you can punch out a station or two as easily as this. It's as simple as pressing a piano key, and it takes much less practice. Just incidentally, these particular stilts are the highest in the world, 18 feet. And they come in mighty handy on a Saturday afternoon when there's a bit of painting to be done around the eaves. No ladders to move, no trouble at all. In fact, he doesn't even have to stand aside for traffic that sometimes crowds the driveway. Even the youngest member of the family is up to 5-footers. Well, it's guaranteed fun if you stay vertical. Something like poling a boat up and down a river without a boat. Fire by Cracky and in Flatfoot Flossie's stall. Call the wagon. What? No fire? Nary a spark. Just Flossie herself enjoying her evening pipe and that famous storybook about the cat, a fiddle, and one of Flossie's ancestors. Hi diddle diddle, don't stop to fiddle. Come on out, Flossie, and stir up a little buttermilk. So these are the dishes that ran away with the spoon. Well, Flossie would rather munch ginger snaps than jump over a moon. And she always likes to let her dinner settle a bit before exercising. Come on, get going, Flossie. All it really takes is a little coaxing. The jitterbug, swing it, sister, mow down. And oh yes, Flossie can also do the conventional thing, give milk, although she still hasn't learned how to sit on the little bottles. Shades of Robin Hood. The modern girl sets her eye on a bullseye. And watch this, without touching the egg. Aha, so this is the guy. No, the girls aren't quite this good yet. But after all, the instructor is always supposed to be better than his students, isn't he? Now, you can take the bow in either hand. Well, that's not quite it. Here, try it this way. This hand, and these fingers, chest out, chin in. Ah, now that's more like it. That's the way to shoot 'em straight and shoot 'em far. And speaking of straight shooting, get a load of this one. After turning the front wheels to the left as far as they'll go, he ties the steering wheel tight like this with a piece of twine. Shockproof string, you might say. And away he goes, off to show ye fair maidens there are a few tricks about archery yet to be learned. Dear girls, equipment for this one includes one bow, one quiver of arrows, a car with a stabilized front end, and oh yes, if you expect to line up a row of hits like this, be sure you include lots and lots of practice. That's all, girls. Dear Mr. Instructor, you're wonderful, but you're still only the second best archer in the world. Have you ever heard of a little fellow by the name of Dan Cupid?
Once a jitterbug, always a jitterbug. But here's truckin' that isn't a dance. It's a new kind of fencing. Out in California, they're trying it out in several inches of water. But down in Florida, they prefer the sand. Tootsies get a real workout in this kind of fencing, and it certainly does things to that avoirdupois. Ah, what a pretty miss. Right past the shoulder. This is a sport that demands a good eye, nimble feet, and speedy flips of a strong wrist. Here's a carload of prospective students. Come on, girls, let the Florida State Women's Champ show you how to become a good duelist in one easy lesson. Maybe. It's a lot of fun, and besides, it's a swell way to keep your figure slim. That ought to get 'em. There's really nothing to it. Just parry, thrust, riposte, and counter-riposte. And if that doesn't work, use a time thrust in the redoublement. If that doesn't work, just duck and pray. She cuts a pretty figure all right, but not with a blade. There are kibitzers in every crowd, and there are ways to fix them. Come on, you gals, give Susie the works. This isn't fencing, but it's fun. This young lady is all wet, or will be in just a minute. I'm zwei dry. That's not ducking, that's dunking. Careful of Susie's new finger wave. And this started out to be a simple lesson on how to reduce. So long, Susie. Got your roller skates? This is one fencing lesson where somebody really got stuck. Rice today, but puddings, plastics, and concrete tomorrow. And rice makes good glue, excellent cosmetics, swell horse collars, and some folks even eat the stuff. Powerful valve and head engine runs machine. Machine thrashes the biggest harvest in years. A lot of it will go to make good bricks and buttons, superb sauces, and soap. In one end, round and out the other end. Grain pours into sacks. The rest, just one big pile of hay. Well, hay to you maybe, but somebody's going to make gravy, brooms, and fertilizer out of that mountain of stuff. Man makes automobile. Man saws off parts of automobile, pushes both ends together. Presto! Man has mighty good doodlebug tractor. Rice needs a lot of water. Arkansas has little rainfall. The same engine that helps to thrash rice helps to grow rice. Water is pumped from rivers, from canals, from deep wells at the rate of 96,000 gallons an hour. A centuries-old oriental underwater grain raised in the hot state of Arkansas, all with the year-round help of the modern automobile engine. Who hasn't been at least a Saturday night sailor and chased a bar of soap around the bathtub? But this is a new kind of sailing, racing with all the finesse of its big sister sport. No deep sea needed. Any small lake or pond will do. A graceful bit of streamlined beauty. Never mind the nose, that won't help your boat win. No small boy hobby model yachting, but a booming international sport. Interest has suddenly sprung up even in remote parts of India and South Africa. Scientifically shaped for speed and efficiency, model yacht hulls reach a length of 80 inches, weigh as much as 60 pounds. Hundreds of parts go into a racing yacht. Accuracy is important. Mast and turnbuckles must be just so. This boat is to be a winner. New ideas, new features are incorporated into this latest model. It looks slick as a whistle, but how will it act on the water? So busy with his business during the day, he's forced to try out his new boat at night. Her maiden voyage. Uh-oh, it's sailed out of range of the lights. But that can be fixed in just a jiffy. An easy twist of this rudder, a bit of skippering about with this four-wheeled land yacht, a quick flip of the toe on a convenient light switch. Yes, sir, right back in the spotlight. And we'll be again tomorrow at the races. Peanuts, popcorn, chewing gum, and Cracker Jack, a prize in each and every pack. Hey, Skinny, circus is in town and the balloon's loose. How's a fella gonna know they go around the streets playing with balloons? Looks like everybody is going to have some fun. One of the busiest corners in Miami Beach. 40,000 cars go whizzing by this intersection every 12 hours. What a place to pick for sailing a balloon. And there it goes with a small movie camera tagging along behind. Taking pictures usually isn't anything to get up in the air about. But tomorrow is school day for this officer. That makes a difference. High above the busy street intersection, this camera never fails to bring back all the lessons that are needed for dear old alma mater. A pull on the string starts the camera. Another jerk on the string stops it. The school bell rings for these traffic officers. It's an odd school with a new kind of geography lesson, but it's all part of a program to improve traffic conditions. Here's what the officers see on the screen at this novel safety school. Police and traffic engineers are able to study actual driving conditions at busy corners. Here's a truck that has a habit of chasing planes. In fact, it's a business. All aboard Fort Cozumel, Tapachula, Guatemala, Tegucigalpa, Antofagasta. Oh, come on and get in. With a clipper ship in between, it's just 2 steps from the United States to any country south of the border. This truck sure is traveling, and so are its occupants, if it gets there in time. 6 minutes to go, then off to South America. Step on it, driver. That airport is still a mile away. Uh-oh, and this plane waits for nobody. Right in the nick of time. These passengers just won't get ready until the last minute, and there's nothing that can be done about it. In traveling togs before they know what it's all about, loaded into a speedy truck and rushed to the airport. across the gangplank and into the rumble seat. A lot of fuss over a bunch of small fry, but not a peep out of them. What a passenger list. Over 800 this trip. Takeoff time for the Caribbean West Coast Flyer. Motors roar and the clipper ship express trains down the choppy water of the bay. A sweep up into the air and its nose points south, flying down to Rio at a lot of miles per hour. Next plane leaves in 45 minutes, so back again for another load. Thousands pass through this unusual air terminal daily. Jeepers, cheapers! Over 10,000 of these animated powder puffs are rushed to Central and South American markets every week. All because the American chicken is a better egg producer, is better tasting. Come on out, fella, and have a look around. Try grunting, that helps sometimes. Stand up, you sissy. Right after hatching, one of these little fuzzers weighs only half as much as an egg, so rides for half fare. He doesn't begin to get hungry until he's 72 hours old, so he's as snug as the bug in the rug was during the entire trip in specially designed flying Pullmans, and arrives long before he has a chance to work up his first appetite. American chicks bring home South American checks. This is one time when a dozen chickens are cheaper than a dozen eggs. Happy landings, you birds.
Neck twisters, spine shakers. Rides like this are a lot of fun, once in a while, and for some people. But few of us would like to do very much traveling over the waves of a roller coaster. These are only a few of the devices that man has invented to give himself a thrill and a pain in the neck. Sudden ups and downs are all right in an amusement device, but automobiles haven't much use for them. The automobile engineers know that in our motor cars, we want comfort and a smooth, level ride. Even when we want to travel on the level, the ups and downs, the waves in the Earth's surface, complicate the problem of getting a smooth, comfortable ride. The bumps and dips in the Earth's surface over which we travel have been reduced. Great progress has been made in leveling and smoothing out roads and highways. But automotive engineers have long known that all roads can never be made perfectly smooth. Even the smooth, paved roads have long, gradual waves, or small, sharp bumps that have different effects at different speeds. The wheels of our motor cars follow these waves, moving up and down with each change in the surface of the road. So, to give us the smooth, level ride we want, engineers knew that the smoothing and leveling would have to be done by the motor car itself. Between the moving wheels and the passengers, some sort of a bump leveling device is needed. Let's see for ourselves the method by which the engineers have approached and solved this problem. Here is a wheel, fastened so that it is free to move up and down. The wheel rolls on a moving belt, rising and falling whenever it strikes a bump. A platform, fastened solidly to the wheel, carries a tracing pen, and when the wheel moves up and down, the tracing pen draws a line which shows the movement of the platform. To get a true picture of the up and down movements, the tracing paper moves at the same speed as the moving ground belt. We'll start the model running. Now, the traced line gives us an exact picture of the up and down movements of the wheel and platform. Let's see what happens when we use more speed. At high speeds, the effect of a bump is considerably greater. In slow motion photography, we can see that the wheel climbs the bump and bounces into the air. Of course, this jolting is passed on to the platform. We can mount a fairly stiff spring underneath the platform to see how it will affect the jolting. Now, let's watch it in slow motion photography. The traced line shows that we have cut down the jolting because the spring absorbs some of the effect of the bump. Let's substitute a soft spring for the stiff spring that we have been using. A softer spring gives a smoother line because a soft spring is able to spread out the effect of the bump and act as a better cushion against the jolt of the wheel. But when there are 4 wheels mounted in 2 sets, front and rear, as in the motor car, the problem is complicated. Until recently, the front springs of the automobile had to be stiff to keep the axle and front wheels in line. If one set of springs is stiffer than the other set, the stiff set will bounce harder and faster. We can see that this unequal springing, stiff springs in front and soft springs in rear, causes pitching when the wheels strike a bump. The traced line shows this clearly. The only way to eliminate this unequal springing and make the front springs soft is to give them only one job to perform, the job of absorbing bumps. Suppose we replace the bouncing axle with a rigid, immovable beam. Now the wheels can be fastened to the beam by 2 parallel swinging arms. The wheel is pivoted so that even when the arms are tilted by a jolt or bump, the wheel remains vertical and in perfect alignment. And so now, in place of a stiff spring, we can use a soft spiral spring to absorb the jolts and level out the bumps. Since the rigid beam and the swinging arms keep the front wheels in line, there is only one job left for our springs to do. With both front and rear springs equally soft, the platform is held in balance. But now that the front and rear springs are soft, we have another problem. Springs that are soft enough to level out the bumps will compress too rapidly under a heavy shock. And springs that are soft enough to absorb small shocks have a tendency to continue bouncing after they have been compressed or stretched. So to help the springs absorb heavy shocks, we can slow down their action by means of shock absorbers. The shock absorber acts like a brake in delaying the movement of the spring, and it prevents bouncing when the spring is compressed and then released. We can make the severest kind of test to see whether we have a method that will really iron out the ups and downs. We'll use a lot more bumps of different sizes, and we'll run them under our wheels at full speed. Now watch the traced line. The traced line seems to be pretty smooth. Let's watch through the slow motion camera and see just what's happening. No more pitching, and the soft springs with their shock absorbers spread out the effect of any bumps that they can't completely absorb. Of course, in actual practice, where strength and safety are of maximum importance, engineers have made use of these same bump-absorbing, road-leveling principles with a much stronger and more durable construction. The front wheel is pivoted so that it can be steered in any direction and is mounted on a strong, upright arm. The upright arm is fastened to the rigid, immovable crossbeam by means of 2 parallel swinging arms. The swinging arms and the rigid crossbeam do all the work of keeping the wheels in perfect alignment. So the genuine soft knee action spring has only one job to do: cushion the bumps. A double action shock absorber controls both the compressing and stretching of the spring as it absorbs heavy jolts. This combination of soft cushioning springs, together with positive double action control on the front wheels, is balanced at the rear wheels by equally soft springs with the same type of double action shock absorbers for control. With soft, balanced springing, held under positive double control, the smoothing and leveling of roads is done by the motor car itself. The pitching and the ups and downs are eliminated. Here is a real test on a full-size scale. That pipe sticking up from the top of the car is a giant tracing pen. The sky itself will be our moving strip of tracing paper. And this tank of skywriting smoke will take the place of ink. The car rides smoothly over the waves while the wheels do all of the pounding. Watch the traced line. And so, the pain in the neck has been taken out of ordinary driving, giving a truly level ride over any bumps on city streets or on country roads.
Well, it appears that everybody's ready. And into the spacious luggage compartment with the bags. Careful, that's Grandma's present. Get in, Rex, you're going too. And their 1940 Chevrolet will get them to their destination easily, safely, and with the utmost economy. Solid comfort. And that also describes Chevrolet for 1940. With its bigger and roomier body by Fisher and perfected knee-action riding system, the Ride Royal, one of Chevrolet's 175 important modern features. Reasons why Chevrolet's first again.